Hello and welcome back to Fusion 360 3D modeling tutorials. In this video we're going to be going over the different types of constraints that you can use in order to define a sketch. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. It's a basic line on a plane. So in our sketch palette we have all these different tools that you can use to define your sketch. The Coincident Tool will line up 2 points, or a point and a line, or a point and a circle, depending on the situation, with each other. So just go ahead and show how that works. I can click this line and this point, and it'll line it up there. And you notice I can't pull it off there anymore. So that's what that one does. Next up we have Collinear, and this will move 2 lines onto the same line, but they'll still be separate. So I'll just show you what that means. So you notice here the 2 separate lines, they're collinear with each other, and they basically stay. They're collinear. They stay on the same line. Next is going to be concentric, so that'll be with 2 circles. I believe you can also do this with a circle and a point. So you can just have 2 random circles. You can select their midpoints and then make them There we go. Okay. Yeah, so you need to select the outside of the circles, and then they'll have the same midpoint. So you see how they're stuck together now. That's nice if you want to, say, extrude, an outer ring like that. Anyways, so that's concentric. Basically, it puts 2 circles at the same point. Next, we have midpoint, which is a unique feature of a Fusion 360. Some CAD programs might have it. I'm not exactly sure, but this works with any line. Comes in handy a lot, and if you notice in the previous video with the steps, we could select, say if I wanted to make a line and that triangle popped up. So we can either do it that way and it'll automatically put in our midpoint constraint, or we can select the tool, select that line and then this line, and it'll line up the midpoints with each other. So depending on how you want to use that, that's what that does. Next we have fix, and this acts as an anchor. It's the best way to describe it. So so it's green now, and I can adjust the size of my circle, but I can no longer move it around. And this also works for, say, lines. I don't usually like to use this one in particular, just because I don't really find it that useful. In most cases, I'll just use my origin as my fixed point, because your axes are already here, and they make it really handy to build everything you need to use. But in the event you need to use it, that is how the fix constraint works. Next we have parallel. That applies to 2 separate lines. So So I can select these two, and they're now going to be parallel to each other. And depending on the constraints of one or both of those lines, you might come up with an error if you have too many constraints on one particular line and you try to make them parallel. So just watch out for that. And depending on how you want your sketch to look, you'll use different types of constraints depending on your situation. So pretty basic. Okay, the next one is going to be perpendicular. And if you took any basic math classes, basically they're going to be 90 degrees to each other. And this is particularly useful if you want to make a free sketch, say like a square or something that's not lined up to your origin axes for whatever reason. In most cases you will be. And I can say make these two coincident, and then give them a 90 degree. Should work. Yeah. Okay. And then give them a 90 degree, and then build the rest of your rectangle or whatever you're making. So next tool on here is tangent, and that's going to apply to a circle and a line. Always circle and a line with tangent. It'll automatically put it in if you, like say if I put a line here. If you line it up right. See if I can get it to do this. Yeah, so you see this little blue thing on the circle right now, and basically is going to lock in that tangent constraint. Or if I want to do it with this line, I can just select the line, shift click, and then select the circle. Where did it go? Okay. Yeah. So since my circle isn't defined, it's being a little wonky, but yeah, that's tangent constraint. Smooth. I honestly don't really know how to use this effectively. I try to look at some stuff on the Fusion 360 websites and didn't really come up with anything. I tried playing around with it, but it didn't really do much. So, and it's from the time that I've been modeling with Fusion 360, I haven't used it. Supposedly, it's useful for when you want to model for like 3D modeling, and you want a curve to be smooth with a line. So I think the basic idea of how that works, but anyways, you probably won't use it that much unless you're getting really in depth with 3D modeling and actually making products from your designs. In which case I can't really help you there. Okay, next one is equal. I find this particularly useful when making multiple circles that I want to be, say, like the same diameter. So I'll just go ahead and give one of these like 1 millimeter diameter, and then if I select this equal, I can select my first circle and make those all equal. And then now I don't have to go in and make my dimensions or whatever. So it'll come up with that error because it's already, the diameter is already defined by this equal constraint. So depending on your preference of how that works, or of how you want to model stuff, you can either use a constraint or just put in your dimension. Another thing with that is if you want to make something equal, that that I actually just found out today. If you click on this, you notice it says D1 there. Apparently, if you select another circle and then just put in D1, I mean, it basically works like an Excel sheet, and it'll put in. It knows what dimension you're talking about. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, last one is Symmetry. Same with the smooth constraint. I tried playing around with this. I think it's for if you want to mirror something, but the mirror tool is something that you use in the sketch as a sketch tool. So I'm not really sure what the last one does either. I'm sure there's other videos out there that can help you out with that, but for the most part, the ones I went over are the primary ones that you're going to be using, and will be useful for basic modeling and are the basic constraints for more complex stuff as well. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching.